Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the In the 11 podcast. I am your host, Brendan Griffiths, and this is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level. This week's guest, a good friend of mine, Alejandro Castaing, is stepping into the 11, and I had a blast with this one, catching up with him. We go way back all the way to our days in Germany, and it was a lot of fun just to catch up with him and see what he's been up to ever since we left Germany. As he's been bouncing all around, we haven't been able to see each other since COVID, and a lot has happened in the past couple of years. So it's fun to not only hear for myself, but also share it with you guys out there as well, and share a little bit about his professional career thus far. Before I send you on over to our chat, can you please do me a favor, as I have asked you in the past couple episodes, if you like the content, if you like an episode, if you feel like you got some value from it or heard a cool story, if you could please, whatever platform you're listening on, rate and review the show, as it helps the podcast be shown to those who may be interested in the content but haven't yet discovered it. Without further ado, here is myself. That last week, you were in a final in Puerto Rico, and
last week I ended up the league here in Puerto Rico. It's the first division called Liga PR. It was actually a pretty good experience. We ended up playing against a team called Metropolitan. They're from north side here. This is their third championship. My team is kind of new. We had a lot of young players. They're a new team. Our average was like 21 years, so it's a pretty young team. They have a nice project. That's one of the reasons why I came here. Unfortunately we couldn't get the dub, but it was a good experience getting to a final for the first time with that team. And we played a lot of it was a good team. They have like one of the guy with most goals in Puerto Rico national team. He plays for that team. They have like a lot of Argentinians because like their president and their coach is Argentinian. So I was playing in the middle with guys that were ex-River Plate. There's guys that have played a lot in South America. So it was a good experience overall, in my opinion.
Awesome, man. Your story kind of almost, I wonder if it's like come full circle a little bit, because obviously you grew up in Puerto Rico, and now like you have this experience playing in Puerto Rico. If we kind of go back a little bit, what was your youth kind of soccer career, football career growing up, and what was it like playing in Puerto Rico and growing up in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so I started playing here. Actually, River Plate had like a Puerto Rican academy.
Okay.
So like let's say like Barca Residency Academy in US, they have something like that here in Puerto Rico. So I started there when I was 7, and then it shut down. And then some of the parents that had their kids, they created a club right here in the South. So it was called like the Eagles. And then I joined that team like 8, 9. And as I was playing with them, I started seeing better teams around here. And I started going to the better teams. And I literally stayed in that team. Whenever I moved to like the best team in the South, I stayed there until I was, I'd say, 16, 17. That right there, when I was 15, 14, I actually found out like I really wanted to play soccer, like go to another level. So I started like looking for colleges. I started emailing like D1 college when I was 14. Sending just emails, expecting them to like reply back. Remember, I have like emails sending to UCF, and then like my emails were like, "I just want to play for you," like I didn't know what to say back then. But yeah, I knew in my mind that that's what I wanted to do, like play D1, go to US. Like that was my goal back then. So whenever I turned 15, 16, after playing Puerto Rico like youth, like really good high, it's pretty good level here. It's probably the best one youth. But I knew I wanted to go for more. So after playing 15, 16 years, I talked to my mom that I wanted to go to US because my dream was to like play college soccer. And I've been telling her for like years, but whenever I turned like 15, 16, like I was serious. I was like, Mom, I really want to go. So like I had a cousin that lives in Florida, and like I talked to him. And he was married back then. He had like 2 years married. But I texted him, and like that I wanted to go to Florida. If there's any way I can move with him, just to stay there for like until I finish high school, because I was finishing my sophomore year, so I would only need junior and senior year. And he said, "Yeah, you can come with me, stay junior and senior year here." And I was so happy. I was like, for me going to the U.S. and going for high school, I had in my mind like D1, like full ride or something like that back then. I was like, if I move to Florida or to U.S., I'm just gonna everything's gonna be solved. I'm gonna like find and accomplish my dream. Cause I was in Puerto Rico and like I just thought, cause I was never being in the U.S. Like I never lived there, so being Puerto Rico, like playing here and being good here, like being good in my division with my friends, like being like a really good player around. I was like, if I can make it here, if I go to the U.S., then I'll just like I'll make it. But then I moved there, and then I joined a high school around there. It was called Santa Lucia's High School, and I was so nervous on the tryout. Whenever they like send the tryout, I was so nervous, and I literally like I scored like 3 goals in the tryout. Like I seen that the guys weren't that good, and I was kind of surprised. I mean, like they're good,
Yeah.
but high school soccer
Yeah, it's not the
is
best.
okay
Yeah.
level. Yeah, so I was surprised. But yeah, I got my name on the list. I made varsity, and like I was excited. I was like, everything's gonna go like keep going up from here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, from that year, I just started sending emails. That's why, like, when I found how to like make a CV, like okay highlight video, so I started sending emails from like junior year and then senior year, and we ended up winning district. That was like the first time my school wins district in soccer. So like, I started sending emails and I couldn't find anything. Like I would get NAIA like teams, D3 or D2, but like, I had to pay like a lot. So that's kind of when Germany came up about. So whenever I graduated, I really didn't have like anything. I had a couple offers. I was gonna accept one in Kansas to play NAIA,
Okay.
but I had to pay like probably like 18K. So I ended up refusing it, and I went to Puerto Rico. I just came back, didn't know what to do. I just came back to Puerto Rico after I graduated high school, and I started working a summer camp. I started working there. No clue what I was gonna do in my future. And then a coach from Florida. I played club soccer. I played travel team. I played for Boynton Knights. They weren't that good, but they were able to like give me, after I went to trial, they were able to give me like financial aid, and then I didn't have to pay anything. So I was like a lot of guys from my high school were like, why do you play for that club? Like I really never told them, but it's because like
Yeah.
teams were so expensive. Like, it's like 12. You go from Puerto Rico where you pay like, in my club I pay $250 a semester, $250 a
Yeah.
semester. And then I go to the U.S. It's like 1,000 a semester,
Yeah.
like 1,200, and I was like,
Yeah, bro. It's crazy. It's
what am I
crazy.
gonna
Like
do?
the numbers and like obviously like we didn't play like youth growing up in Europe, but like obviously it's so
Yeah,
much different for them. Like you talk to people from other parts of the world and they like the way America does the game, it
yeah.
doesn't make sense to people. They're like, "What? You pay
It
how
doesn't.
much?" Like it's crazy. I wanted to ask you though
Yeah,
something came up when you were talking there. Like I think it, it's funny how you mentioned that there's that moment kind of where you feel like you're the best kind of in your group and you feel
yeah,
like that is like now I'm ready to go and I'm ready to D1 is D1
yeah.
and or professional or whatever the next step for you is like I think it takes this kind of like humbling a little bit for a lot of players
It
like
does. Yeah,
because I remember kind of thinking the same thing like I grew up in I went to this club when I was like 14. It was kind of one of the better clubs in my area and so I'm like oh yeah I should be able to go and play D1 now. And then it's like, I'm sure
yeah.
you now know, playing all over the world, bro, there's so many good players in so many parts of the
There
world. And
is.
so you think if
Yeah,
you're good in your one little town that means anything, like the reality is it kind of doesn't mean anything.
it kind of doesn't. Yeah, like I was surprised after being here. I was like, I'm ready, and then going there, playing club, and then literally having no offers after I graduated. I was like, wait, what's happening to my plan? Like, I thought I was the best in Puerto Rico, and now I come here, I have no offers or NAI offers. I gotta pay like 20K. I was like, what? Like, it's a whole new world. It's like literally a whole new world. But yeah, so I went to Puerto Rico, didn't know what to do, and then this coach from my travel team, he contacted me and he was like, "Oh, what would you think about going to play to Germany?" He's from Belgium. I guess he knew Marcel and those guys from Germany, but they said to pay. What do you think about going to Germany? And I was like, yeah, but then they said like 500 a month, and I was like, I said no. I just said no because I wasn't even playing travel to play in Florida, and then 500 in Germany a month. I was like, no, I don't have that kind of money. I appreciate it. So I was about to sign with the NAIA school, and then next thing you know, Marcel calls me, the guy from Germany, like the owner, and then he calls me. And like he said about he watched a highlight video, and then my coach was talking pretty good about me, and then like what would I think if I should go there and like play for like 90 euros and do some work whenever they needed, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna think about it. It's a whole different like 90 euros, $500, and I just talked to my mom right after the camp. That was like on lunchtime in the camp that he called me, and so I thought about it, and I was like, it was literally the only option I had. It was like it was that or either going to NAIA, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I did it, and I don't regret it because even though it wasn't the perfect organization, I mean I got to play. I started playing with the U19s, but then started playing with the under 23s over there, and then started playing first team. I met you. I met amazing guys over there that were pretty good level that are playing pro now, like Tony, Eddie. So actually, that was another moment that it was hard for me. That I was like, whoa, that it kind of humbled myself again because I was playing so good in high school, and then went to Germany, and then under 19, it wasn't that challenging to be honest. 100%. But you know, I was dominating. I was playing good, and then you go to the first team for practices, and I remember them screaming, like Mike Corby screaming at you, like fights that happen in practices, and I was kind of like I was nervous. Yeah. I remember there was practices that I was like, do I even want to be here? Like, for me it was pressure. That was like one of the moments that I felt pressure, like missing wide open goals just because I was so nervous, and I was like, damn. So I feel like that was like another experience that like kind of humbled myself. Yeah. But I think it actually like made me stronger, like keep growing. Because right after that, I think my seasons after that have been like about the mental side. Because like right there in that moment, it was just I was mentally weak. I think I was kind of mentally weak whenever I started training with that first team, and I was like excited at first that they invited me to train with them. But then, you know, we start missing goals, and then people start screaming at you. You see fights. Yeah. And then, you know, I was 17. So I was like, back then I was like, it was for me, I wasn't mentally there. I was like kind of immature.
You know what's interesting about that though? Like, so, I mean, I'm probably explained this to the people before, but like, I was in the U23s and you were in the U19s, and like you said, you were one of the best, if not the best player at the U19 level. Probably came and did the same thing at the U23 level, and like honestly, the U23s wasn't what it should have been. You know what I mean? And exactly. But the first team level was like high, and like you said, like now you look at that team, like a couple years removed, like pretty much 90% of the team is a professional in some like at some team somewhere. Exactly. But it's funny, like I remember you like kind of coming up through, and I never got that same, like I could tell like you were, in certain moments you're a little bit nervous, but I always felt like, wow, for how young he is, like he seems like he's just ready for the moment. Like I remember there were games we went and we played like 11s one time on the grass pitch, and like you were playing center back. I was like, wow, he just seems like this is just another training session for him. Because I had the same experience as you a lot of times where I would go, and in the beginning, like in the beginning it was kind of different because like everybody was still excited to be there, and everybody was like, yo, we're gonna do
Yeah.
well, and then we're gonna be able to get promoted, and like I'm gonna get a new deal and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And then like as the months went on, and like and like people weren't being challenged as much, like new opportunities weren't really coming, the organization was kind of crap. Like training was basically this
Yeah.
like this super intense, like everybody was heated, and everyone got all their frustration out in training. So like by the
Yeah.
time you went to like a November training session, the weather in Germany is terrible. Like everybody's like a little bit pissed off.
Definitely.
It was just like
Yeah.
it was basically like putting a match to gasoline at some of those training sessions. So I had the same experience. I was like, some of the sessions I would honestly be going into it like very, very nervous. And
Yeah.
it definitely helped me grow as a player 100%, like you said.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, actually, I never played center back before that. I
Mm.
remember, it was the U19s, and then I said whenever I got, it was actually whenever I got there to Germany, the first training session was with under 23s, and then like the coach from the under 23s, he's like, all right, wingers come here, and then I go whenever he said wingers, and but he meant like fullback.
Huh.
And then he put me as a fullback, and I just played. Because that's something I learned. Like, whatever they put you, you
Yeah.
gotta play. So I said I was winger, but then he put the wingers, like, as a fullback. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep playing. And then after I keep playing there, the under-19 coach saw me playing right there, and then I guess he liked it. So he put me as center back on the under-19 team. He put me as a winger, and then sometimes as center back. And then I guess the coach from the first team, like, he doesn't know me, but he sees me
Yeah.
playing with the under threes and the under 19s as right back and center back. So he's like, you know what? Let's bring a center back for practice. And then whenever they told me, oh, Ali, the first team wants you to play center back, I was like, sure, like, of course,
Yeah.
whatever he wants. And then you're right, like those first days, it was exciting. I just wanted to play, have fun. But I think I started getting nervous, like when the fight started happening, that people were kind of mad. I feel like maybe I never felt like I was never in that environment before. So it kind of like got me nervous, like everyone fighting, like the competitiveness in those practices. Like at first, like it was good and I was having fun, but then like I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Whenever that just kept going, I was kind of nervous. But as you said, I just feel like I'm grateful for those opportunities because you grow from that.
Yeah, I think, was that probably for you? That was for me probably the first taste of really what it was like, I guess, in a sense, to be a pro, because I think that, like, that's what
Yeah,
you hear about, is everybody is that competitive about everything. And like,
yeah,
bro, as from the moment you step over the line, it was like when we were in rondos, like if somebody was in the middle for too
yeah,
long, like you better watch
yeah.
out because you're gonna take a stud to
I
the knee.
know.
Like there was never really a moment where it was like, oh, okay, we'll just kind of go through the motions on this one. Like everybody wanted to
Yeah.
compete at everything, and everybody hated to lose all the time. Like have you kind of noticed that in other places that you've been since, that it's a little bit similar to that?
Yeah, actually, right here in Puerto Rico, like there's some practices that you seem like is kind of off, and the coach he's Polish, he's from Poland, so every time practices are kind of off and they're not as intense, he just comes and says something like that. He just comes and says, if you go to Europe or if you go to another country, you see practices, they're competitive from you start. If they make a bad tackle or if they're not playing hard, kids will tell you that they're gonna rip your head off and they just be mad and strong. And he's actually right. Like sometimes that's how I felt sometimes over there. I remember whenever they told me you're gonna go first team. For me, like you said, it was like my first pro experience and like one of the best ones. Cause like you step in the rondo, and for me, everyone passed the ball. Like I was like, this is
Yeah,
fast.
bro.
You come from the under 19 kids that they're slow, doing a rondo, playing around, laughing. And I'm not saying we're not having fun in the rondos for the first team, but it's like you're having fun, but it's competitive, and they're going hard passes. If you stay in the middle, like they'll make fun
Yeah.
of you, or they'll just hit you if you stay too long. So it was a really good experience, and I felt that's like one of the first moments that I felt like real pressure in the sport.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
know, like I will say too, and I wonder if you had the same thing. Like I remember, like I got to the point where I just went and I trained with the first team pretty much every day, and then I played my matches with the second team. And I remember like later on in the season, after I had done that for a couple weeks in a row, I went to a second team training session, and it was kind of nice because it felt like everybody was running and like I was walking. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like a little bit like you know how in baseball like they put the weight on the bat to like warm up. It felt like a
Yeah.
little bit like that, like taking that off and then just like swinging.
Taking it off,
Um,
yeah.
did you have the kind of like the same experience after playing at that like high level? Then like coming down, you were like, oh, okay, this is way different now.
Yeah, no, I remember because I used to train. Sometimes I used to train with the three
Yeah,
teams. Like I would train like under 23, then I would go to the first team practice or vice versa, and then at night 8:30 8 p.m. That's when our coach from the U19s could go train. We go to the U19 practice, and I just felt so free. Like I just could just ask the ball. Everyone would rely on me. Just having
yeah.
fun, and you're dominating because you come from that practice, and then you come here and you see the difference. So yeah, you definitely can see it.
So how was that first experience like for you on the more playing side of it, like getting matches in and having your first experience like in Europe playing against European opponents and like and what was that kind of side of it for you?
From the first team,
I mean, any matches that you got, whether it be because I can't
yeah,
remember in that I was only with you for that first half of the season. I can't remember.
yeah.
Did you might have played with all three teams throughout your time there in the first bit, right?
Whenever you were there, I never got to play with the first team. I got named in the squad the last two
Ah,
games, but I never got to play with the
mm,
first team. But yeah, definitely playing. Whenever we started playing, a fun thing was playing the cup with the U19s. There was a because we were playing better teams in that cup from I don't remember Kreispokal Cup or something because we started playing leagues lower division and then same division as us and then final and semifinal were against it was U19 but still we're playing against younger kids from maybe one or two higher divisions
mm,
than us, so it was pretty cool experience, you know. um Different level than US or Puerto Rico. You could see even I would say even in the under 23s, that I mean, players weren't the best, teams weren't the best, but you I would say that you could still see structure
yeah,
on those teams, tactics. You could see that they still know what they're doing. So for me, it was kind of an experience to like know that there's people out there that really know about this sport, and like you always can learn from them, or you can keep learning every time. So yeah.
absolutely. What was the experience then like kind of off the field, like living? Obviously, I know you moved from Puerto Rico to Florida, and that was maybe your first experience kind of living a little bit away from family. But then, you
From
know,
family.
going to
Yeah.
Germany is way
Yeah.
different than that. You know what I mean? And so, what was that experience? And you know, you can even talk about too, kind of the living situation or everything else that happened, you know, off the field, I guess.
So, yeah, as you said, maybe going out of my house, going to Florida, maybe it was like a
Yeah.
warm up. So maybe it wasn't. Yeah, maybe it wasn't. It didn't hit as hard maybe to other players because I kind of like moved out with my cousin, like my mom, my dad. They're all in Puerto Rico, but it was still close. Like, I could still go see them,
Mm.
or they could come see me, or we were close. But yeah, going to Germany, far away from everyone. I wouldn't say it hit that hard, but once the months go by, you start feeling it. Yeah, living experience. I'm definitely used to eating at my mom's house every day whenever I'm back home. So it was kind of shocking, you know, eating the fruit from there. For me, in my opinion, wasn't the
Mm.
best. Um, the living situation, having roommates. I always like to be by myself in my room. So yeah, having two, three roommates, you know, having blasting music up night or talking, and then you can't sleep. It's kind of it's a new experience for me. But even though it wasn't as easy, I'd say that I still appreciate it because I learned from all those guys. I met a lot of people, and I still have some friends from there. So even though it wasn't the I didn't feel as great back then because of the living situation. Uh, the spaces where you slept. I remember those first times that I got to the house that got in the summer. It was like 90 to 100 degrees. And where I lived, in those houses that we were, there were no
Yeah,
windows.
bro.
Like, they created the windows like right, maybe like September, October, and it was starting getting cold. So I don't know why they made it right after in October, but yeah, it was a shocking experience, but still one that you always have fun when you talk
Yeah,
about it.
it's definitely we definitely talk about it different now than we do when we were
Oh yeah,
living
for
day to
sure.
day, because like
Yeah,
it's funny, I feel like if I talk to anybody else that we were in Germany with, it's like we can try and explain it to people, but you don't really know unless you were there, man. It's
you
just
don't. Yeah, like right now, the way maybe the way we're talking about it or the way I'm trying to explain it, it just sounds fun.
yeah.
And it sounds like it was the best experience. And I mean, for me, it's a memory and something like you learn from. So that's what makes it great. But living it was, yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah,
But
and like you said, there were positives to it. There were definitely
of course,
negatives to it, but
yeah,
I remember thinking the same
yeah,
thing. Like I think the first day I got there, I think it was like the hottest day in Germany it had been in like years. They showed me to my room. It's like basically like this little closet with no window.
yeah.
I wonder, did you have the same experience too, where like when you first got there, was there ever kind of a moment for you where you were like, "Yo, I'm not really sure about this."
No, I was kind of scared. I remember whenever they got me at the airport. It was one of their players and one of the coaches. You know, they drive and like I seen the pictures right because they showed me pictures before, and in my head I was imagining like a cool apartment or like a cool I don't know like a really cool house, and then as you as you're going as you go to the house, and then I just see dirt. I see all those fences, they're broken. Like I was like, I hope we're looking for some bugs or something here, because I. And then whenever I got there, the pitch didn't have grass because like they were putting new grass,
Yeah.
I think. So it was like all dirt, and then the vans go by. It's literally all dirt, and I'm like, "There's no way I'm staying here. There's no
bro,
way." And
because
then
I remember I pulled up and they were like, "Oh, like we're gonna show you like where the club is and stuff, and like you can go get something to eat." And like I'm like, "Oh, okay, like this is where the club is, right? And this is where the field is."
yeah,
And then they're like, "Oh, like you can take your bags out of the car," and I'm like, "Wait, what do you mean?" Where this is just a field, and then all of a sudden we're like going through this like Harry Potter little closet stairs up the.
I
I'm like,
know.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I had this same impression. I remember whenever he said, "Okay, you can get the bags done," I was like, "What?
What you mean?
Where am I gonna stay?" And then we just go to those stairs, and I see the rooms, and I'm like, "Well, this is it.
Yeah.
This is
And there
it."
was because you know just as well as me, and I've talked about this with other guys too. Like there were so many players that did actually come in and out of the group.
Yeah,
Like there were trialists, there
yeah,
were guys who would stay for a week or two, there were guys who were there for a month and then left. Like there was, it
yeah.
kind of just became like, especially the guys who made it all the way till the end. It was like we were sort of these like. Obviously, I don't want to like it. Compare it to being a soldier or anything like that. But, like they had
Yeah.
this different look in your eye, you know what I mean? Like there were guys who would come in and after one day they'd be like, "Yo, how you guys doing this?" We're like, "Honestly, bro, like we're just here. It is what it is. Like you're either out or you're
I
out."
know. Yeah, you're either in or out. But yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a good comparison because literally after everything ended, you're like relieved. You're like, we made
Yeah,
it. Like not a lot of people did. Like I would say like probably 60% of the guys that we met left. Like probably 40% stayed, and then just new guys kept coming. But it's not for it's not for
yeah.
everyone.
I think that was an experience where it kind of like it tests you, right? It's like, do you really want
Yeah,
to be a pro? Like, do you want to pursue the game? And that's why
exactly.
like I try and tell players that ask or like talk to me about it. I'm like, listen, to be honest, like unless you're like a huge name, probably your first ever team that you go to, like it's gonna be not what you expect it to be. Like Just whether it be like where you live or whether it be like the level is lower or something like that, like it's probably not going to be sunshine and rainbows. But like if you're down to grind it out for a little bit, then you can
Yeah.
definitely turn that into a better opportunity and then a better opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you as you were leaving then after that first semester, or first half of the year, I guess you would call it,
Yeah.
I'm as you mentioned, once that feeling of making it at the end, I remember like getting to the airport to like fly home being like,
Yeah.
like this weight was off my shoulders. But um
Yeah.
when you went home, like were you going kind of with the expectation of coming back for the second half of the season?
So at first, like right, those last days that I was over there, maybe like last week, I would talk to the guys and like think myself like, I'm not coming back. I was like,
Bro,
I
but
just want
not,
this
I
to
don't want to
be.
cut you off, but I think if you asked any single person in the last week, 100% of the
Yeah.
answers would have been no fucking way.
Yeah, no way. And it's funny because I did go
Yeah.
back, but yeah, those last weeks, I was like, everyone would just ask me, so Ale, what are your thoughts? Are you coming back? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't think so. It's not looking good for me. I think I might go for UPSL or just look for other
Yeah.
options, stay home and like look for other options. Like I wasn't done, but
Mm.
I wasn't thinking about going
Yeah.
back. But yeah, once I'm back home, I didn't think about going back either. Once I landed and they start talking, and then um the days and the months go by, and the team offered me to go back full first
Mm.
team. And then whenever they said full first team, it kind of got me interested. I was like, you know what, might be
Mm.
worth it. And like I obviously after sending emails and everything, I tried to go find other things, but whenever they said first team, I was like, might be worth it. And I was going back, even though whenever we left, I was like, there's no coming back. Whenever they said first team, I was like, I really don't have anything else to do, and if I just want to, I'm not gonna stay here. I thought going there would give me more exposure, at least just being, at least playing, being on the team and playing, and of course I thought the first team was gonna be as good or better than the time that we
Yeah.
were there. So I thought, practices like this probably not gonna find
Yeah.
anywhere that they're gonna accept me, right? Like let's say maybe if I went UPSL, um, MPSO or just semi-pro teams in the U.S. There's good players, there's good level, but at like the practices that we had back then, I think that's like one of the best environments I've been. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I'm still young. Go play first team 1 year, and then maybe try to find better
Mm.
things. And then that's when like COVID happened, so I had to stay. I couldn't go back. And then my next move comes from meeting Matt, the center
Okay.
back. Um, so whenever I started going to the first team, and I started playing center back, he kind of took me down his way and started talking to me, helping me out, and then we kind of hung out a bit, and then we just kept texting after it was done, and one day I was like, you know what? Right after COVID happened, and everything, nobody could go to to
Yeah.
Europe or anything, so I had to stay in the U.S. And I was like, you know what? Even though my dream, like my dream shifted after going to
Mm.
Germany, my goal shifted from playing college soccer to being like, okay, I know this was like an eye opening experience, but I want to do this. I was like, even though it's an eye opening experience, I want to play professional
Yeah.
soccer. I think that's when I found out. So I didn't want to play college right after I came back from Germany. I just wanted to keep playing either UPSL or finding, and then after that, play. I don't know, do trials USL. That was my goal back then. Just play UPSL, do great, and then go find USL team. Like my mind back then. And I couldn't find anything. I text emails, agents, teams, everything. So I ended up texting Matt, and I was like, "Oh man, how you doing? I just wanted to know if there's any way you can help me, with the sport, soccer. Maybe you have an agent, you have contacts." And then he texted me, "What would you think about playing college soccer?" And I was like, "Ah, man, let me think about it. I wasn't sure about playing college, but I'll let you know. And then after like I literally tried everything. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna text Matt and tell him I want to play college. And then I texted him and he helped me out a lot with like a lot of teams. And then he played together with a guy that is coach
Mm-hmm.
now in a JUCO in Colorado. They played together. Like I know this guy. He's gonna put you in the team. He's really friend of me. I'm gonna give him my word that you're really good, and he's gonna take you. What do you think going to Colorado? And I was like, you know what, man, let's do it. And then he got me in contact with the coach. Um, he offered me like maybe like 70% of money, and then my academics paid the other half. So I kind of had like a full ride with academics and
Mm-hmm.
sports. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Maybe if I go the JUCO route and then go to D1, maybe that's gonna be the route
Yeah.
for me. Who knows? Um, so I played JUCO over there. Thanks to Matt, I appreciate it. I played there for a year. Um, we got to the semifinals, and I had like a pretty good year. And then after that, I was like, damn, do I want to go back to
Yeah.
college or do I want to try the pro dream again? And right after the whole college season is over, and then we get to summer, I start emailing again every club, every agent, um, and then the guys from Germany, they contact me. They contact me. What are you doing? I told them I was playing college soccer, and then they told me, what do you think about coming back next season to play first team? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a thought. And then I finished college, and then I reached back to them like in probably like June, and I was like, I haven't found anything. Do you still want me to play for your first team? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And that's when I went back to Germany.
Mm.
I decided to go back to Germany after college because I was like, you know what? I kept studying after. I think that one of the good things about starting to play JUCO is that it got me to keep studying because at first I was like, you know what? I just want to go with the
Yeah.
pro dream. And some people say if you have a plan A, like go full,
Mm.
like just go for it and make it happen. And I trust in that. I think that if you want, like you have a dream and a goal, you should go for it 100%. But I kind of like started studying and I was like, you know what? Might as well do it
Yeah.
too. Like you never know you never know what can happen. So I was like, I'm gonna go all powered with the plan A, but it's not gonna hurt me to
Yes.
have to study in something that I want. And that's what like kind of like where my mind shifted, and I was like, okay, I can do both. I'm like good enough to do both. I can play and I can
Yeah,
study.
I
So
agree
right
with
after I
you.
graduated,
I think
yeah,
the difference that I try and talk to people about is with soccer, it's like you can still have it be your plan A, but like you can't train for 10 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you can't put your
exactly.
body through it. So like you going full force with the game still allows you a lot of free time where you're recovering and
It
resting and all that
does.
stuff. So why not also utilize that time to study or start a business or work on a different passion project that you like? So I think I agree with you 100% that like you can still kind of have a plan B without it really taking away anything from your plan A.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad I actually like came to mind and like I was like, you know what, I can do both. So right after I kind of accepted going back to Germany, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start online
Yeah.
school. So I decided to finish my second year of junior college in an online school in Florida. Would have a cheap tuition because I'm a in-state resident because I lived there. So I decided to finish my 2 years in JUCO, and then I went junior college, and then I went to Germany. Decided to go back um, with a whole different mindset. Like I was ready to, I already knew what I was getting
Yeah.
into, so I had a whole new mindset. I was just like, my mindset was just to go grind out, even though whatever happens, even if it gets bad,
Just play
just
your best. Yeah.
work hard. Yeah, just work hard, and you know what, like get footage,
Mm.
get that in your resume that you play like men's league, like first division. So I mean, first team somewhere like with men. Because before that, I played college, but I never got really to play with the first team when I went there. I played under 23s a couple games. I mostly played U19s, and then I played UPSL, but I never got to play with like
Yeah.
men, I would say. So I knew like I needed to play one season with like men. So I went there and started doing good. Started playing as a right back with them and played the whole season. Probably missed only like one match that they didn't start me. I just feel like Brazilians kept coming in. They just keep trying putting them in the field. And for one game for me, I was like kind of hurt. I was like, damn. But just kept training, kept going hard, kept working out. I knew things like that could
Yeah.
happen. Before I went there, I knew things like that could happen. So I was kind of ready for it. And I thought I had like a really good season, even though we couldn't get promoted. It was good to have like finally like a full men's season, be able to taste a little bit how it is. Not the pro level because that's far away from the pro level, but at least the training sessions. We got to play with the Darmstadt, the team in Bundesliga. We got to scrimmage them, so for me that was like a huge
Wow. What was
thing.
that like?
Yeah, I think that was like my one of my favorite memories. Yeah, I remember whenever they said we're gonna play Darmstadt because we started training on their field, and then one day they said we're gonna play them. I was like, damn, like this might be the
Yeah.
chance for me. Or at least just to play with them, just like to taste. Even if you don't get scouted, because it's hard getting scouted from 7th division to a second division team. But for me, it was more just to be able to play with guys in that level, to see how I am, if I can make it, how far away I am. So I remember getting there, and there were a couple fans of course, from the other team. And I see them like asking for autographs, shirts. I was like, this is it, man. I'm like, this is gonna be like probably like my first professional game, like against a professional team, like the first taste I can get. And I remember they said I was gonna start, and I was super excited. I remember I played. They have a striker, pretty tall striker. He plays for them. They had like probably like 7 players were like youth
Okay.
players, but they had like 3 players that are first team that they start or that they come from the bench. Like they had a striker. I remember seeing him. The center back actually starts for them. I don't remember his name, but their center back that played that game, he starts for them right now. So playing against those guys, seeing how they touch the ball, how they pass the ball, how accurate they are, trying to like beat them in speed or crosses around them, or just play simple so they don't hurt you or they don't get the ball away from you. I think it was like one of the best experiences I've had. Yeah.
Wow. How did you feel like after the game, looking back at it? Like, I know you mentioned you were looking at it kind of as an assessment, sort of. How far away am I from this level, or can I fit in? Like, what was your takeaway from the game?
So yeah, after the game, I just started watching the highlights for like days and nights. I just kept watching the highlights and just looking at my parts against those guys, so I could like think and know that I can make it. And now I think um, after like playing there, and we lost 2-0. So after losing 2-0, I mean, even though it's not their whole first team, it's still against
Yeah.
some guys that are up there. So it was like it was like something that gave me more confidence. After playing and watching my highlights, I was like, you know what, man? I came here for a reason, and I think I had a good reason to come here. It actually like gave me more confidence after watching highlights, and just after I ended up the game, just sat down and was like, you know what? Like maybe this is for me. Like maybe this sport is for me. I still know, and I knew back then that it wasn't gonna be as easy as I thought, as I used to, but I still like I had highlights and I just kept watching them, tackling some of their wingers, beating them in speed. I was like, you know what? You can make it. Like if you actually work for it, and if you know that's gonna be hard, but you're willing to put everything in. So I thought I could make it. So it was kind of like a confident booster for me back then.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. It's I think that's one thing I've sort of learned is like every kind of experience can give you like a different little thing that you can take with you into the next one, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe for you that whole that whole second time in Germany, you could have looked at it as like, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to get scouted into a higher level German club, and like I'm going
Yeah.
to, take the next step in my pro dream. And it could have been what happened, but like maybe the thing that you really were able to take from that is like, yo, I got to play against the second division team and kind of figure out that I
Yeah.
can hang. So like that confidence was what I'm going to now take away. It's like how we were talking before about like maybe that first time we never really got to play with the first team, or we never got that opportunity, but like that was probably one of the highest level training environments I've ever been a part of. And
Yeah.
like now I know what it's like to be at a level like that. And maybe one day I can even, it'd be nice to even experience a level higher than that, just to like kind of play pinball and watch the ball just move around.
Yeah.
Like, if we kind of like put this into just the timeline here, 2019 was your first time in Germany, and then like college after. So when you're going back to Germany for the second time, kind of where are we at in terms of like the timeline and also COVID?
So after 2019, I was supposed to go back to Germany that March, February
Yeah.
2020, but of course couldn't go, canceled the flight, and I went to college August
Okay.
2020. You know, Colorado, they said the junior college was gonna start. They were gonna play. No fans did everything, but they were gonna start and they were gonna give classes. And I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I'm not gonna find a better opportunity than this. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I just wanted playing time, practicing time, and for me at the moment, that was like the best chance. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And then so I played there the whole 2020, the fall semester 2020, and then spring semester 2021, and then I went back to Germany August 2021.
Ah, okay, gotcha. So you played that first half of
Yeah,
the season with Germany in 2021, and then
yeah.
went home for the holiday break. Was your plan again same thing? Was it okay, I'm gonna look for something else, or was it I'm gonna try and finish out the season in Germany? Like how'd you leave things in Germany the second time?
Yeah, so after I played the first half of the season, kind of similar to the first time, a lot of guys were saying, "I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back." In my opinion, I was still debating, because I had a whole different mindset and I knew what I was getting
Yeah.
into. So, for me, it was either if I found a better opportunity, I would take it. I was gonna look for better opportunities, and that's what I did. I was emailing everywhere and trying to look for trials. Um, So in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna go for something bigger, but if not, I'll finish up the
Mm,
season. So I was like, I wasn't 100% sure of what I was gonna do. I knew they were counting on me and that they wanted me back, but after I had that good season, and after I told you that I had that good play, that game against that team, I was like, maybe it's time to go for something bigger. Like, I had a taste of playing with men, playing at
yeah.
this level. Maybe it's time to go trial at somewhere bigger, and that's what I did. I remember coming back and emailing every team, and so yeah, 20 after I came back, uh, New Year's happened, and then starting January 2022, um, I got a trial with Michigan Stars, the NISA
Mm,
team, and they invited me for preseason. I was emailing them, and they invited me for preseason, and I was like, man, I made it. Just going to the trial, I was like, they invited me for preseason, based off a highlight. I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm not going back to Germany. And I remember I had a one-way ticket because they didn't even tell me how many days it was going to be. They just told me preseason starts this
mm.
day at this time. So I just booked a flight and I went there. And I remember going to the first training and seeing the guys from the first team. And I was like, damn, I'm going to train with the guys like that they're signed here. And I remember they divided three teams. It was like a couple guys that they invited for preseason as trialists. So they did three teams. One team was like their starting team. Then another team was like half of their bench, and then half of the guys that invited for preseason. And then the third team was literally like all guys that they invited for
Mm.
preseason, and I was in the third team. I was like, and then the guy comes up to me like I'm like one of the last guys to get picked, and that's when I got like kind of like frustrated. I was like, damn, am I gonna make it? But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play, so I just gotta prove it. So the guy comes, one of the last guys to ask positions, and they had like 3 or 4 fullbacks already signed. And then for the team that I was playing for, that they picked me, they had 2 fullbacks already. And the guy comes at me, what position you're at? And like I saw that there was a winger spot open. I was like, winger. I was like, all right, go play winger. And I remember we played against like the team that was mixed, and I balled out as a winger. I played really good. And then the assistant coach comes up to me, and he's like, all right, get ready. You're gonna play as an 8 for the first team. And I was like, what? And like whenever he told me to play with the guys that play for the team, I was like, damn, they saw me playing, they think I'm good. And I was like, all right. And then he told me, can you play as an 8? I was like, yeah. And I played with them, and I did so bad. I did so bad. Like the midfield, I don't know. I was kind of lost. Like they were playing so quick. They'll pass me the ball. I would try to pass it back like one time. Sometimes I put it under chest. And then after I started having like bad touches and bad passes, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna run. I'm just gonna defend everybody. I'm just gonna tackle everybody. And I started doing that. You know, I kind of like ended up in a high note. But after that, the coaches, he goes talk to me. He's like, after the day's done, he didn't tell me anything. I kind of went up to him. I was like, so should I come back tomorrow or what? He's like, yeah, I don't think we've seen enough from you, so I'm gonna have you coming back tomorrow for one more day for preseason. And for him giving me like another opportunity, I was like, all right, it's not a no, it's not a yes, but exactly. It's not a no. So I go second day, and they put me like in the mixed team, and I play good. And then they put me in the first team. Then can you play as a 6? And I was like, sure. And I play as a 6. And training finished, and that was the second day. Training finished, and then they took out like 4 guys. They took like 2 center backs and 2 strikers and 1 keeper. And I was like, yeah, I didn't get selected. And then as I'm walking to the locker room, like the assistant coach, he tells me like, keep your head up, like you might not be in this team, but I think you got like potential to keep going, so just keep working. So right after that, I just booked a flight for the same day at night. I ended up practice like at 12, so I booked a flight the same night to go back home. And I was kind of sad. I was kind of frustrated, but at the same time, I was like, you know what, this is my first. Because at first I was thinking, if they invited me to preseason, maybe I'm getting selected. Like at first, whenever you go, you're like, maybe this is it. And as you're going back, I had a whole different mindset again. I was like, you know what? You'll bounce back. Like this is your first pro experience, like your first professional trial. So don't worry about it. You'll find another one. So it was a whole different mindset after coming back from that first professional trial.
What was the first when you were with the assistant coach and he's kind of telling you what the situation is like? What are the how does he phrase it to you, or what does he kind of say? And then like, yeah, too, can maybe you speak to like if you were advising a younger player who was listening and like kind of just went through the same experience and like had their first trial and like it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like maybe what like first of all, what was the conversation like for you? Like kind of what were you feeling, and then like how do you bounce back from it afterwards?
Yeah. So whenever the first moment for me that was like kind of hard, it was like as the training is done and I see the head coach calling 5 players and then like taking it like all the way back to the field, like you know like that if you're not in there, you know you're not in there. So I'm just walking out kind of frustrated, but I was like, you know what, you knew it was a risk, you know this could have happened, you know you came here but they didn't time you, they just told you to come for preseason. So I was kind of sad, just head down. And then I see the assistant coach, and then he just tells me like, "Hey, your name's Alejandro, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, I feel like you played good. We gave you the opportunity to play with the first team, And even though maybe you didn't go or you didn't do as we expected, you still went there, and I respect that you worked hard. Um, and then something I respect that is he advised me to keep going. Like he wasn't a coach that told me like,
Yeah.
thank you for coming or leave. Like he actually told me, um, I actually advise you to keep going, keep working, and something's gonna come, something's gonna happen
Mm.
for you. And I think that actually helped me a lot. Cause and I'm not trying to tell that every coach is gonna be
Yeah.
like that, but I respect that after a trial he comes up to me and then he tells me to keep working, because even though this didn't happen, maybe something else is gonna pop up. So from a coach telling you that something else might
Mm.
pop up, in my opinion, is like you're good. Like maybe you're not as good to be in this level yet, but he sees something on you. Like you got something. So I would say that my advice for younger people, for younger players, is not to go on a trial thinking you're not gonna
Mm.
make it. Like you gotta go hard, thinking you have a chance, but also you gotta go with the mind that maybe it's not gonna go as perfect as you think it
Mm.
might be. Like nothing is guaranteed, so whenever nothing's guaranteed, like you gotta go all in, you gotta work hard and expect every outcome, any outcome, and then be able to deal with it and bounce back harder. Because I think that's what I did, and it was a good experience for me. Even though I didn't get selected, it was like my first professional tryout, and being able to have a coach tell me to like keep working is something that I think that like you stick with that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Like I think I kind of started to do the same thing where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in and try and sign for this team, right? If I'm on trial, obviously that's
Yeah,
my goal. But I also kind of went in with the mentality of like, there's gonna be more of these. You know what I mean? Like if this one
yeah,
doesn't work, there's gonna be another one. So I'm not gonna be like, if it works out, great, but I'm not gonna like crash down emotionally if it doesn't work out because there'll be another
yeah,
one. Um, and so that's what I kind of like I would say to players too, is like go into it like and absolutely do your best, but like I don't know, it's like a weird balance because you don't want to like already be kind of thinking
yeah.
like, oh, there's gonna be other ones, like
Yeah, you're not gonna
yeah,
make
because
it.
you want to
Yeah,
go and think I'm gonna make it, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world if you don't.
yeah. So it was actually funny because I remember right after that try, I was like trying to get like motivation. I mean, I was already self motivated, but I just still want to get like more motivation, to be ready. So I remember I was watching Become Elite's videos like about trials,
Mm,
and I remember I see this video, and then he's saying, "Don't go to a trial thinking that you're gonna make it. Like, there's always gonna be more of this. Like, you're gonna.
mm,
I've been through tons of trials, and like, He said like, um, there's almost nobody makes it on the first time. And after
yeah,
I heard that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna prove him wrong. Like right after before the trial, I was like, I'm gonna prove this guy wrong. I'm gonna make this trial. And I was so sure that I could make it. So and I think like it's a good thing to say to young players, because that was me, and as a young guy, and there's probably more like me that think you got a preseason, you're invited for a trial, you're gonna make it. So after the trial, I gave him credit. I was definitely, yeah, this guy was right. It's hard to get picked on your first trial, your first opportunity, your first everything is kind of hard. Um, Getting noticed or doing so great, because you got to learn. So yeah, I definitely think that failure is what helps you out to keep going and to bring you to success. So yeah, it was a cool experience.
yeah. Exactly. Like I talked to a player. I mean, obviously, I speak to players on this, and I love hearing their stories. And it's not a question I ask everyone, but I remember specifically asking a player, is it Chase Boone, and he plays now for Monterey Bay
Yeah,
in the USL. And I was like, how many trials did you go on before you actually signed your first one? I think he counted it, and it was like 9, I want to
yeah,
say. Like, so, and there's people who I'm sure have done more than
yeah,
that. There's people who have done less. Like, but it's kind of just to tell anybody out there, like exactly like you just said, like, it's really hard to do it on the
Yeah,
first one.
yeah,
And it's I don't know.
yeah. It just shows that that's the top, and if you want to get to the top,
Yeah.
it's a ladder. Like, and I just thought I could maybe like jump that ladder, just skip it. But the truth is, everyone has to go up that ladder, like go step little by little. So I think it was a good experience to like keep learning, because that's something good from football, and I think from every experience that I had, that I can take at least one positive out of all of them, even if it was
Yes.
Germany, playing college, or playing UPSL, or just moving from Florida to Puerto Rico. You can take a positive out of all of those, so you're gonna always learn in all of those. So that's something I look back into, and I'm like, damn, that's amazing. But yeah, after doing that trial, I just kept sending emails to USL one, NISA teams, and there was I found out an MPSL team, for the summer, and I emailed them. I didn't even know why I emailed MPSL team, but the thing is, I emailed them, and they replied back saying to go play for them in a game against the Railhawks. They're from North Carolina. I think that's their team.
Okay.
They play USL one, I believe,
Mm.
and the coach from Richmond Kickers, the sporting director from Richmond Kickers, they play USL one as well. He was gonna be there, out there watching our team, and I was gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
it's an MPSL team, but I have two professional teams that are gonna be there, and the coach from Richmond, um, they know each other because the coach from the MPSL team played for Richmond, so he knows the coach. So it's like, if I do good in this game, maybe I'll get a trial for the USL one team. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. So I tell my mom, I bought the flight, and I left to Virginia. And I remember I go there, and I go to they told me to go for a practice first before the game. The game was on a Saturday, and then they told me they're gonna have practice on Friday. And then I get there Friday early in the morning, and then they send me the field, and
Mm.
I go there on Uber, and I go there, and it's like six guys on practice, like six young kids, like six, like 17, 16, 17-year-old kids. And I was like, what did I get myself into? And then like I trained with them, I just did the practice. It was like six of us. I still trained, you know, have fun in practice, and then practice is done, and then the coach comes up to me. He's like, I know you might be surprised, but today it wasn't a practice from the MPSO team. It was a U17 practice. I just wanted you like to warm up and get your legs ready for tomorrow. I'm like, all right, maybe this is good. And he was like, be ready, because at 9 p.m. No, he said tomorrow early morning we're gonna have like a tactical session via Zoom. I was like, all right, like that kind of surprised me. I was like, all right. So practice is done. I go to the bathrooms. I get changed, and it's like probably like 40 degrees, and it's like pouring rain. And I get out of the bathroom, and like lights are out, nobody's there. And I mean, of course, I got there in Uber, and then I try calling my Uber, and no Uber's there. Like I just tried calling Uber, and I call like probably like 20, and I just keep trying to get Uber. They just kept getting declined, or no cars around. Like literally no cars around. I
Yeah.
was scared. I was like, what am I? And then my hotel was like 3.5 miles away, so it wasn't that bad. But I was like, you know what? And then I just tried it for like and it was pouring rain, like 45 degrees, and I was like, you know what? I gotta
Oh.
walk. I was like, I gotta walk. So I
Yeah.
started walking, and I'm like in a forest. Like it was like a two-way. It's like two-lane streets. Like there's no sidewalk. So I was literally walking on like literally on grass, on mud. I just walked. I walked all the way. I found a place to eat. I ate, and it just kept raining. And I went all the way to the hotel. So I got to the hotel. I just went hot shower, and I wanted to cry. I was like, dude, what did I get myself into? I just got like 3.5 miles training with six guys that are like 16, 17. But then I was like, you know what? You have a game tomorrow. Maybe this is it. Maybe the coach will see you and maybe you'll surprise him. Like you got to go through those things. So you talk to yourself and I'm like, you know what? It's just temporary. Like you just got to the hotel, you made it safe, so you're good. So I remember waking up and the coach having a tactical session, and I was starting to put me as a right back. I started as a right back, and then we played against a team. I remember it was 1-0. The first half they were winning. They mostly had academy players. Um, and then second half, I remember I had a cross and we scored like in the 89th minute and we tied the game. And I was like, damn, like, cause I had like an okay game, but until I got that assist, I was like, okay, maybe he noticed me now. So the sporting director, like the game finishes and then he comes up to us and like he said, it's a good game. He saw pretty good players and everything, but he's gonna leave everything to the coach that he was gonna tell us, and he left. Like he said, like 3 words and left. And I was like, damn, he's not gonna talk to any of us. He's not gonna talk to a player. I was like, damn, I might start looking for flights today. I was like, I might have to leave today. And then the head coach, he saw me like after I changed and everything. He saw me like on the phone asking for an Uber. And then he comes up to me like right after the game. He's like, "You trying Uber?" He's like, "No, we don't do Ubers here. We do Lyft. Like nobody wears an Uber here." And I was like, "Well, I should have known yesterday."
Yeah, I wish I knew last night.
Yeah, he does. We do Lyft, and I was like, but he was like, "But I can give you a ride. Where's your hotel?" And I was like, I actually did check out today. I was thinking about leaving today because I didn't hear anything from you or the coach from Richmond. So I was going to book a flight right now and go to the airport. So I was going to get an Uber for the airport. He's like, oh, no, yeah, we can get food and then I'll take you to the airport. And I was like, perfect. And then he took me and then he was like talking to me. He wanted to sign me for the MPSL team. That I was really good. He wanted me to play for them. And I was like, yeah, and like I tried to ask like in a respectful way, like what were my chances to play for that Richmond Kickers team, or like for the coach to notice me or to get trials. And then I asked him, and then he told me that he played for them for like 8 years, and he knows personally the coach, but that he thinks that I should play for them. That he thinks that if I play for him in the MPSL team, and if I do good, maybe I can get to that Richmond Kickers team. That he doesn't promise it, but he played there and he knows the coach personally, so he can give a good word for me if I play for them and if I do good. And then he told me, but of course, he would give. I think he offered housing and food. I was like, I'll give it a thought. I told him, he left me at the airport. I was like, I'll give it a thought. But for me, that's a risk that I wasn't willing to take to play MPSL, to pay for my flight, maybe live I don't know where, with who. To play MPSL that maybe I can play in Florida, right next to my house. I just can go and train with them, that level. So I was like, maybe this guy just wants me. All the respect, I was like, maybe this guy just wants me to play for him and maybe like win games and have a strong team. But maybe he doesn't actually think I can make it to the Richmond Kickers team. Like, and I was like, or maybe he does, but it's not a risk that I'm willing to take. So after I got back, most preseasons were ending. So I started, I was like, well, I guess it's time to hit up agents. I was like, at first I just wanted to contact clubs. I didn't want to get involved with agents. And then I just started reaching out to agents. I downloaded LinkedIn, started talking to other coaches and agents, and found a couple trials in some countries in Europe, some countries in Asia, but nothing like certain. And this day, I see one of the guys from the national team from Puerto Rico that he signs with the team that I'm playing for, Puerto Rico Sol. He signs with them and he tags this agency. And I was like, let me email this agency. This guy from the national team, and I actually DM'd him. He didn't have an email on his page, so I just looked up the Instagram page and I DM'd him, and he answered me the next day. and he was like, "Yeah, I'm willing to help you out. At the moment, what I think is best for you is to play for Puerto Rico Sol. They're a team that they're young, they're ambitious, and they want to win the title. They would, if they win the league, they go and play Caribbean Club Shield. That's like the cup from the Caribbean. And if they win the Caribbean, they go for a playoff game. And if they win that playoff match, then they go for CONCACAF Champions League. So like he sold it me perfectly. I was like, I mean, to be honest, like it's my probably my best chance at the moment. I was comparing that either going back to Germany or play UPSL or USL2 or MPSL or playing Puerto Rico. Of course, had a risk if I don't win the league. I just played Puerto Rican league. But if we do win the league, I can go play not international, but a cup here in the U.S., Mexico, the Caribbean. So I was like, you know what? That's a good exposure. Maybe playing Caribbean Cup and then playing a playoff to play CONCACAF Champions League. I'm not gonna get that anywhere else. You're not gonna get that in NISA or USL or playing in Germany's sixth division. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So I told them I was gonna do it. They offered housing and they offered money, salary. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. And they offered a car as well. So I was like, you know what? Good package. I'm gonna do it. Then after I signed, another guy from the national team signed with us. So it's like, you know what? It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a good season. And then our schedule was training from Monday to Friday, and we had 9 sessions from Monday to Friday. We trained from Monday to Thursdays. We trained 9:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. and then Fridays we only trained in the morning.
Oh my god!
It was yeah, and in the heat from Puerto Rico, it
Yeah.
was hectic, but it was good because I was training a lot, and then I was playing every weekend. I started every game, played every minute, and even though we didn't get the title, we got to the final as a team that wasn't. They didn't see us in the final. We made playoff as the top 4 makes playoffs. We made third place. We beat the champions from Puerto Rico and the Caribbean Cup. They won the Caribbean Cup, so we beat them in PKs. And we went to the final with this team, Metropolitan. They have a couple Argentinian guys with experience. And we lost in the final. But overall, I think it was a good decision, even though we didn't make it where we wanted, so we could get that exposure in Continental Cups. But I still think it was a good experience to play men's league again. Being this level, first division in the country. So I don't regret it, and I think I still, just like I learned from everything else, all the experience that we talked about, I learned from this one, and I think whatever my next step is, if it's here or somewhere else, I'm gonna keep learning and do better.
So how do you feel about that next step as you kind of look towards it right now? Are you looking to go and kind of return to Puerto Rico and play for the same team and kind of do you feel like there's unfinished business there, or do you kind of feel like I still need to maybe try and take a step into a different market or a different level or something like that?
So I think it's like mostly like my past years, it's like a balance, or like it's like 50-50 in both decisions. Like I'm like in between.
Yeah.
Of course, like you said, I definitely think there's unfinished business, and I think the team is gonna get the right players to come back and go fight for the title. So that's something that I'm interested in. But also in my mind, I always think that you should go like big and maybe try for something higher level, that like try to make your dreams reality. So of course I'm gonna send emails as I usually do, contact teams, contact people. And if nothing comes up, I probably sign again and try to get the title and maybe get exposure while playing Continental Cups to maybe go to a higher team, higher divisions. But yeah, I think this month are of thinking what's gonna be best for me, and of course, don't forget about the training every day, working hard. So, because if you work, I always think that if you work, the opportunities are gonna come. Of course, you gotta look for the opportunities as well, and gotta have luck. But I think that if you work, and the opportunities are gonna come. So yeah, I think that I'm in between, but it's not a, in my opinion, it's not a bad place to be in between.
Yeah, 100%. What what's the kind of balance of all the things that you have to do, maybe in an off season or even can be kind of in a season, like for you, especially in those seasons where you're in Germany or in college, like obviously there's an element kind of financially of trying to go and fly to those new opportunities, right?
Yeah,
Like when you fly to Michigan, you got to have enough money to have that flight and stuff. Like, so, and you've already mentioned there's like the training piece, there's reaching out to clubs and agents and stuff like that. Like, is there also then like kind of getting work for yourself too to be able to fund the dream as well? Like, isn't there so many pieces to this that
yeah,
kind of all have to fit into
yeah.
place?
It is. It actually is. Um, I remember whenever I came back for from Colorado, first semester, um, I did. I didn't. I only paid off everything, but I didn't have any money left over. So I like with this, as I told you, I had money for sports and from academics that paid the whole school and housing
Mm-hmm.
and food and everything. But the second year, that I'm starting to realize that okay, this level, I'm doing pretty good, but I'm dominating. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to play college no more. I want to go somewhere bigger. So that's when this money part comes in. I started working in the college. I started working. I applied for schoolwork, work study. I applied for work
Mm-hmm.
study, and I literally saved up that money that I earned in that work study semester. I saved it up. I was working in school, helping the office. You help coaches. Sometimes you gotta clean stuff. So I was doing work study in the school. And I saved up all that money because I knew I might go back to Germany, and of course the flight I
Yeah.
had to pay for it. So I do work study, and then that summer, I was staying in Florida from June till July, and the cousin that I moved in with whenever I moved from Florida, um, his wife, the dad of his wife, he's an electrician, and
Mm-hmm.
he fired. No, he didn't fire the his helper. Like he quit. Like he created his own company, and I offered my help, and I was like, I don't know anything about being an electrician, but if you teach me, or if you need anything like to buy things at Home Depot to like hold the screw or anything, I'll do it for you. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, come for it. I need the help. And I was changing light bulbs. I was helping with the switches, and it's something you gotta do. Some if you want it, eh, of course I wanted it bad enough, so that's a sacrifice and something I was willing to do. So yeah, that's how I saved up my money to Germany, and I would say that from work study and working there, I saved a bit to keep in my bank just for these things. I
Yeah.
wouldn't waste it in clothes or shoes or whatever. I mainly had that money for literally my goals, for flights, for just surprises that could come, like a trial here, a trial there, come practice here. And I knew it was a thing that I wanted to do, to just fly, to be able to fly. Because back when I first went to Germany, um, that was my first flight was my parents that helped me. To whenever I was
Mm-hmm.
17, I didn't have that money, and I was eating the food that they gave me because I started paying for it whenever I was in the United teens. But after coming back from there, I was like, yeah, I gotta work. And I know it's a balance and a sacrifice you gotta do because you gotta balance training, working, emailing. But it's something I did, and I think saving up. is if you work for a couple months and you just save it up, I think it's something that helps me keep balance as well. Trying to organize my money and use it in a smart way. I think that's what helps me balance with training and just emailing and trying to contact teams. Of course, I'm probably gonna have to work again. I did make. Of course, I had a salary this season, so I was blessed enough
Yeah.
to. I didn't have to work. But yeah, I think that it was a pretty hard balance, but I think what saving up is what helped me out and on keeping it strong.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that too about like kind of what you spend your money on. Like I I I was the same way. Like, you're kind of just like storing the money away in case you need
Yeah,
it. Like it's you got it in your back pocket because something's coming up. And man, like I haven't really, like, I don't go out and buy clothes for
yeah.
myself. Like I don't like I just I've pretty much always dressed in just whatever I've gotten like from teams, like
So do I.
training gear or whatever. Because it's like I'm not gonna risk putting a whatever $100 or whatever into new shoes or something when it's like I could put that towards like maybe what I need for a flight or a hotel or something, like for an opportunity. It's that's funny. But man, so what's the situation, kind of when will you know sort of what the next step is for you? Because obviously I'm sure you're kind of in a bit of a
Yeah,
deciding period now, but there'll be a point where you have to make that
yeah.
decision.
So preseason for the my team that I played last season starts August 22nd. So I planned and I have it written that I gotta make a decision by the beginning of August, either if it's staying or risking myself going for trials or going for something else. So I would say that this weeks are probably like the ones that I'll be working the hardest and being on the phone and emailing almost every day and trying to sometimes talking to family and thinking what do they think and yeah, this is gonna be the days that I organize myself and I dig deep and think what's really best for me and what do I want. So I would say that these last probably like these upcoming 3 weeks are probably gonna be the most crucial ones. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing what you do and the decision that you make and following along with your career. And thanks for stepping into the 11 today and sharing your story with the
I
people.
appreciate the invite and I'm gonna keep listening to them. Thank you.
That's going to do it for this week. I want to thank Ale once again. Had a lot of fun hearing his story, hearing what he's been up to for the past couple of years. I think there's a lot of good value in it for all of you out there listening as well, who are young, aspiring professionals trying to do something similar to what Ale was doing. I appreciate all of you out there who are listening, your continued support. I love doing these podcasts. I love giving you guys these stories, but it's definitely a lot of work as well, and it's definitely appreciative when I receive the support from all of you out there who are listening. It makes it a little bit easier to go through all the editing and whatnot to make sure that you guys get quality content. So I appreciate all you who are listening. As I asked you at the top there, if you could do me a quick favor, if whatever platform you're listening on, if you could just leave a quick rating and review, let us know what you think about the pod, as it helps the show be shown to those who haven't yet discovered the podcast, and it helps us grow a little bit, which is always appreciated by yours truly. So thank you so much for those of you who are listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.